As of Blender version 5, the built-in video sequencer has gotten really good. So good in fact that recently I created a whole animation in it, all with sound effects, post-production and music without ever leaving Blender. Specifically this animation.
Proceed.
Welcome, dear guest. Come, come. I've been expecting you for a long time. What tidings do you bring?
Master. We should really use Blender more. I mean, it's 2026, everybody's using it, right? What?
It was real fun to make. More importantly, it really proved to me that the video sequencer is now a completely usable tool and it can be used in real production. So, in this video, I want to introduce you to it. By the way, this scene is part of my Master Cinematic Storytelling course, where I teach everything I've learned about art and cinematography. The kind of stuff that they teach you at film schools, only translated for 3D artists. So if you're interested to learn these fundamentals, check out the link in the description. But now let's dive deep into the sequencer. I have these two scenes inside of Blender, the first one where my character is entering the room, and the second one where he's walking along this corridor. Each scene has its animated camera. The second one even has a cut here, using the bind camera markers to switch between cameras on the timeline. And if you don't know how to make these, by the way, you can easily create them by selecting a camera that you want to cut to and then hitting Ctrl B in the timeline window here. And Blender will then cut to those assigned cameras here. Okay, now what I want to do is to put these on a video editing timeline and sequence them into a single video. So let me actually go ahead and add a new layout, choose this video editing one, and create a new scene, calling it Edit. That created a whole new scene inside of Blender. You can see it in this list of scenes here, and this one is basically independent, just for your video edit. I can now add a number of things onto this timeline, from a pre-rendered video to an image sequence, sounds, music, even solid color and text. But that's not what we're gonna do right now. We want to add our animated scenes from inside of this Blender file. So let's find them here and choose scene 1. Once you add anything from the add menu, it will be dropped where your mouse is and you can immediately move it around. Let's put the strip here at the beginning of the timeline and now add the other one right behind it. You can increase the number in this end value here to make the timeline longer. And also I do recommend leaving this to solid rendering mode instead of rendered, because setting it to render will usually slow down the responsiveness to a complete crawl. True, when you start scrubbing through, it will cache the frames, but pretty slowly. So solid it is, it will make it much faster. And also for faster preview, you can choose this frame dropping playback, which ensures that you'll be playing it at the current frame rate. What I also like to do is to uncheck this use timecode option to just preview the frames, same as you're used to on the timeline. It used to be that we actually had to add a separate timeline window down here to have access to these playback buttons, but in Blender 5 the sequence window has it by default, and if you're missing it, you just have to click this tiny little arrow here. And in this menu you can do all sorts of things, from playing backwards to jumping from the beginning to the end of the timeline, or jumping on frames or seconds in this section here. Let's have a look at some simple editing options. We can take our scene strips like this, changing their length and cutting away parts you don't want. Also, for example, we can take this first one, hit G and move it around, just like you would move an object in your 3D scene. And since the end of the shot is a bit repetitive with just the character walking, I think we can make it shorter. Let's grab the edge of the strip and drag it like this to make it end sooner. There is also a slip tool in the tools menu, shortcut S, which allows you to slide the content of the strips instead of just playing with the in and out. Besides that, the circle and lasso selection tools are available right here. Let's have a look at this second strip here. I think it starts a bit too early, so let's scrub to where the character is already around this area. And here, with the strip, select it and hit K, which creates a cut, and you can now delete this leftover portion, and then go to the previous shot and hit backspace to remove the gap. An actual ripple delete option like in other editing tools would be nice, but let's hope for it in the future versions. So these are the very basics of editing inside of Blender's sequencer. And now let me quickly make this new layout. Add a big viewport window here on the left with timeline at the bottom. And you can save it as a scene editing layout. This way we can have a look at the simultaneous editing feature. As you can see, my 3D scene edit is empty. It only contains my editing timeline here, and it used to be that in Blender 4.5 and below, if you switched here to one of the other scenes, the editing timeline would change to that scene as well. So you couldn't edit your video while changing your 3D scene at the same time. In Blender 5 and above, the developers actually made it independent. So I can now fiddle inside one of my 3D scenes and see the changes directly visible here in the video editing preview window. So I can edit while I'm making changes to my 3D scene, which is a pretty big deal. In this case, it's super useful to synchronize the time between your scenes and the sequencer with this button over here. And this is a great way to keep multiple scenes in perfect sync during scrubbing and playback. What about rendering, you ask? Which scene will be rendered when I hit F12? Easy, just open up this menu over here and hit Ctrl F12 to render animation of the current scene, or Ctrl Alt F12 to render the sequencer. For larger scenes that are slower to playback, this simultaneous editing functionality falls apart a bit, because working with them gets very slow in the editor. But for smaller scenes, simpler animations and previs, this is absolutely awesome, allowing you to really go in and jump back and forth between the 3D scene and the edit. And I believe this will become a gold standard for me. Still, for larger scenes and final edits, I actually recommend using pre-rendered strips because they are generally faster to work with. So I've changed to a brand new empty file where we can add some already pre-rendered shots from the two sequences. You can put in video files here, and also if you have image sequences, just select all of the frames in a folder, load it, and it will function as a video strip too. First thing that you need to do here is to right-click on this movie strip menu and set it to render size, so that our blend file is set to the same resolution as our strip. Now after this change, it might happen that some of your video strips will not be the same size, but no need to worry, you can manually scale it up in this menu over here. And of course here you can do other operations as well, like rotation or repositioning. And while you're at it, you can also set the correct frames per second. In my case, it is the cinematic 24 FPS. By the way, since we're already talking about putting shots together into a sequence, if you want to understand why certain cuts work, why a camera move feels right, why a scene actually lands, those are the topics that I cover in my Master Cinematic Storytelling course over at CG Boost. It contains over 10 hours of lessons where I put everything I know about the fundamentals of values, colors, composition, lighting, and all the way to camera movement, shot types, lenses, and finally about editing your sequences and short films all inside Blender. I basically treated it like a film school education because that's what most of us 3D artists are missing. We can model, light, and render, but the moment it comes to telling a story with a camera, things usually fall apart. So definitely give it a try if you want to fix that. At this point, I want to highlight a super important feature that is located here in the sequencer shelf menu. It's the all-powerful prefetch frames option. And once you hit it, Blender will quickly pre-render your strips to be able to play them without any lag. Sometimes though, when you re-render your shots and the source changes, you'll want to refresh your strips. And you do that by using the Ctrl-E shortcut. This will remove all the pre-cached frames, but it will also ensure that your previewed files stay up to date. Another thing I haven't mentioned yet, you can color tag your strips in this menu. A small thing, but neat and great for having the timeline more organized. Using audio works the same way. You can just add sound files on the timeline. For example, this voice sample.
Proceed.
Or we can put there this atmosphere track.
Proceed.
And if you want to adjust the volume, you can do it right here. Here's a powerful tool. In Blender 5, you can actually access the Compositor for each of the strips on your timeline. For that, let's open up a Compositor window and also have a look at here, where this new section is in the properties. Here you can add modifiers to your shots, just like you would add them to your 3D objects. So apart from some basic ones that you would expect in any editing software, lo and behold, there is the option to add the Compositor. Just make a new compositing group, name it based on the shot you're editing, which is shot 2 in our case. Find it here in the Compositor window, and you can layer here any number of effects that you like. We can, for example, use the curves node and adjust the highlight point like this. And then the hue saturation node, and let's try to desaturate. But there's more. Let's add another compositing group on another strip. And I named it based on this shot so that I can differentiate it and then load it up down here. And you can see that there are these presets here, which include some of the most common post-production effects, like the vignette, the split toning, chromatic aberration, and even some that were previously very difficult to make in Blender. More specifically, this film grain. This is such a great addition to Blender's video sequencer, something I really wanted to have in Blender for a long time. And really, I can't stress enough how exciting this is. If you like using professional tools like Vector Scope, Histogram, and others, you'll have to open up a new preview window and set them up here. They're faster and better looking than in the previous Blender versions, so that's a great update in Blender 5, especially for people who know their way around coloring and grading shots. Finally, there is also this text tool where you can just place it on a timeline, and then in this menu on the right, you load up one of your fonts. You can play with the styles, so add outline, a shadow, or a box around the whole text. And of course, you can change the actual text here. Oh, and the color and the size options are situated here. And you can even add modifiers just as you would do to a video strip. So now we have this short sequence made out of 3 shots with some ambient music and voiceover, and now we want to render it. For that, go to Properties, down here, and if you want to render out a video, just set it right here in the output in the encoding. And you can switch to MP4 H.264 codec. Don't forget the audio, which can be activated here, and now specify where you want to store your video. Name it however you like, and then hit Render Sequence. As you can see, Blender is now very capable editing software too, and maybe now it's finally time to start using Sequencer in your own animation pipeline. At least I know that I will be definitely testing it out for my own future projects. And as a reminder, if you want to learn how I made this complete scene, from scene assembly to final edit, I talk about it in the newly released Chapter 12 of my Master Cinematic Storytelling course. There, I take you on a journey that will end up in you being able to make your own animated shorts. And along the way, our team is always ready to give you feedback under the lessons. So if you want to get some solid 3D filmmaking fundamentals, this course is exactly for you. Until next time, stay creative, my friends. Martin out.